Ave Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. At that time, Jesus walked by the Sea of Galilee, went up on the mountain, and sat down there. Great crowds came to him, having with them the lame, the blind, the deformed, the mute, and many others. They placed them at his feet, and he cured them. The crowds were amazed when they saw the mute speaking, the deformed made whole, the lame walking, and the blind able to see, and they glorified God of Israel. Jesus summoned his disciples and said, "My heart is moved with pity for the crowd, for they have been with me now for 3 days and have nothing to eat. I do not want to send them away hungry, for fear that they may collapse on the way." The disciples said to him, "Where could we ever get enough bread in this deserted place to satisfy such a crowd?" Jesus said to them, "How many loaves do you have?" 7, they replied, "and a few fish." He ordered the crowd to sit down on the ground. Then he took the 7 loaves and the fish, gave thanks, broke the loaves, and gave them to the disciples, who in turn gave them to the crowds. They all ate and were satisfied. They picked up the fragments left over, 7 baskets full. The Gospel of the Lord. In case you were sleeping during the first reading, the prophet Isaiah is prophesying about a time when God's going to take care of every single need of his people. He says, on this mountain, the Lord of hosts provides for his people. It even makes such a bold proclamation that he's going to destroy even death itself. And you see, Jesus is fulfilling this prophecy in the gospel passage. On this mountain. And you see, Jesus goes up a mountain, as St. Matthew so artfully describes. And it says he sat down there. Jesus is sitting on his throne on the top of the holy mountain. And it says he provides for all peoples, the prophet Isaiah says. Great crowds are coming to him. All people are invited. And then it says he will destroy death forever. And so they place at his feet all the sick, and he cures them all. He's not only taking care of death, but he's taking care of illnesses that lead to death. And so the prophet goes on. The prophet goes on that he shall live in the house, Psalm 23, I shall live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. That's the Mass. This is where we live. That's where the house of the Lord is for us. And so, what do we do at the Mass? We receive the Eucharist. They placed them at his feet, and he cured them, and he took the 7 loaves of bread and gave them to the disciples to distribute. Here, he is teaching his disciples not only how to receive the Eucharist, but he's teaching his disciples who will become his priests, his bishops. He's teaching them how to distribute the Eucharist to the world. He's teaching his disciples also to be merciful and continue to carry out his ministry as they go out to the crowd and distribute the bread. It's interesting, Jesus doesn't distribute the bread to the crowd. He gives it to the disciples to do that. Anyone who reads this gospel passage should be thinking, yes, what can I be doing now to be a disciple of Jesus and help him distribute the bread? Help him take care of the sick. Help him take care of the lonely. Every Eucharist that we celebrate fulfills the needs of the masses through the gift of the Eucharist, where we sit on the holy mountain and help God to provide for all peoples. The Mass also calls us to be sent, if you will. There's a mandate to go out. And it's not an empty mandate. It doesn't mean just go out and leave the church. It means go out and do something. Go out and do something for Christ. Go out and be merciful. A noted columnist was asked, she had a national syndicated column, and they asked her, what is the question you're most often asked? She said, people ask me, what's wrong with me? That's an interesting statement. And her answer was, then do something for others. Why would she say that? Because we can become so self-centered and get caught up in our own life, and we forget about how exhilarating it is to care for somebody who has a great need and we can help them. This becomes a way for us to satisfy our need to receive joy by helping others. And in a sense, it makes those who are in need, it makes them someone who gives us the opportunity to really bring Christ to others, to be Christ. Get out and do something for others. It's an interesting comeback line. Well, the gospel tells us they all ate and were satisfied. They all ate and were satisfied, and that's because there's a progression here. The progression begins with Jesus, and he mandates his disciples. His disciples take care of the sick. The sick provide an opportunity for the crowd to get involved and also experience care. It's an invitation for all of us to see two things: how important for us the Mass is, but secondly, how the Mass is really empty unless it is used as fuel to care and bring the mercy of Christ to the world.
Regina Celi, laetare